And if you're joining us right now, we are just getting our first conversation started, and we are talking all about the elections. And here to discuss that, we have the leader of the opposition, leader of the People's United Party, the Honorable John Briceno. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Gavin, Marlene. Good morning. Como siempre, it's quite a pleasure to be on Open Your Eyes. I mean, we have two of Belize's best hosts, right, Gav?
Thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Now, with the government having announced the election date yesterday as November 11th, we are a little bit over a month away. First question is, I have to ask, how do you feel with the elections being so imminent?
Well, Gavin, to tell you the truth, it's almost anticlimactic because there's been so many, there's been a lot of speculation. And I mean, a lot of people talking about different dates, whether it's going to be in August, then September, then October, the 4th of November. And then finally we're hearing about the 11th of November. As I said yesterday, probably it's the worst kept secret in Belize. So it was announced like, okay, let's just get over it and let's get on the campaign trail and make sure that we can convince, which I believe we have, the Belizean people to support the PUP in the next elections.
And of course, the PUP has already been campaigning for a few weeks now. We've seen the launch of some of the action plans that the party has. But now that we are only a few weeks away from the election, I imagine that now things are going to be going into overdrive with campaigning. And can you tell us a little bit about what that is going to look like?
Actually, it has been almost like a roller coaster ride, because we started out earlier in the year, saying that we have to full press, we have to make sure, certainly myself as a leader, that I have to ensure that I have to visit as many communities as I possibly can. Then in February, we had this massive demonstration of support where we had a parade in Belize City. That was pretty much the launch of the actual campaign. Well, unfortunately, we have COVID, and that derailed everything. That turned the world upside down, not only in Belize, but in the entire the universe that we know of. And so we have to be locked up at home at one time, then start to go out a little bit. Now we have to be using masks. Now I started going out and I was told stay home, but now I'm going out again, but of course with a mask, and constantly, cleaning your hands whenever you're in contact with any foreign object or people. So we have to be safe. And speaking about COVID, Marlene and Gavin, we always think about COVID as something there. Some people are getting sick, but it's until it hits home, you realize how serious it is. I mean, all along I knew how bad it was. I mean, being in contact, being a part of the National Oversight Committee, and being in contact with Dr. Manza and all the health officials. But early this morning, I was informed that a former classmate of mine, Sunny Rosado, passed away from COVID-related illness. Somebody we went to school, he's been a friend of mine, and it hits home, when it is somebody that or somebody that's very close to you. I say this to make the point that we have to be more responsible, we have to be more careful. And yes, the Ministry of Health, they have to up their game. They have to be more aggressive testing, more contact tracing. We have to find a way how we can isolate patients that are positive, because they go home and in their mind, isolation is that you stay home. But it's not staying home, is stay isolated by yourself. And speaking to some of the people here in Orange Walk, at a regional hospital, they're saying that they're seeing in some families that it's almost like the fourth round.
Wow.
The husband gets sick, afterwards the wife gets sick, the children or an aunt or a grandmother, and so I think we need to find a way. And I spoke to the Prime Minister about this, is that once somebody is positive, that we need to go and check the home to see if they can self-isolate.
Yeah.
And if not, then we probably need to use some hotel rooms, where they have all the facilities, and keep them there until they are COVID-19 free.
Yeah.
We have to do some changes. That's the only way we are going to control it. I mean, in Orange Walk, we're at over 800 cases,
Yeah.
and it's worrisome.
Yeah, Orange Walk
But we
definitely
can
has.
do that.
Sorry, finish your thought.
Yes, that's what I'm going to. Yes, Orange Walk, we need to give more attention to Orange Walk. We need to do more testing. We have to get the results quicker. When you get 4 or 5 days, by that time that person has been, in some instances, all over the place, and spreading the virus.
Yeah.
We have to be more aggressive in our education and a number of things that I think that we can do better.
Yeah.
Our frontline workers are doing an admirable job, but it is at the leadership level that we have to give the support.
You said just now that you spoke with the Prime Minister directly about efforts in Orange Walk. Should we then read that to mean that you still collaborate in some of the, or contribute suggestions in terms of the COVID response?
Yes, the Prime Minister, we talk fairly often. I would say quite often, but fairly often. Mm-hmm. And he would ask for my views or for my recommendations, which I would give him the recommendations. And in many instances, I see that they are implemented. This last one, when we spoke, I was telling him in Orange Walk, I'd probably nationwide, but at the very least in Orange Walk, that all the patients that have COVID, we need to isolate them. Mm-hmm. We need to go and check their homes to see if they have the facilities to be by themselves. Yeah. Or set them up in a hotel room. Nobody's using the hotel rooms, so I can put them there. And then between the ministry and the family, they can bring food to the patients or to their family members who are sick. We need to do more. We need to do better. We need to do more aggressive testing. We need to get the results quicker. And also, I think we need to try to include the private labs so that they can also be doing their own testing and helping in this fight against COVID-19.
Honorable Briceno, many Belizeans have paid keen attention to your role in the COVID response. When you withdrew or when you resigned from the NOC, you said it was because you felt that, well, you clearly gave your reasons then. But if you are still contacting and collaborating with the Prime Minister and you're asking for the very same things you outlined, the testing, the possible quarantining in hotels, these are all things where you were at the right table to make those suggestions. Do you now feel that perhaps it was not the best decision to have left that committee?
No, I don't think so, Marlene. Marlene, as I said to the Prime Minister when I left, and to my colleagues or former colleagues in that committee, that I would always make myself available, and that anywhere that I can help, I'll be ready to help. And even if they felt that at any time that they would want me to return to the committee because it's getting worse and they feel that they would need my input, I would have been happy to join. So it's not a matter that I just withdrew. It's just that I also had other issues that I had to deal with. So it was the right decision. I still continue to speak to some of the members and also to the Prime Minister from time to time.
Even though Orange Walk is the hotspot in the country and has been at least for the past month and a half, where there's community spread and growing cases, this is your home turf and you can't represent it adequately because you're not on the NOC.
I think I do. And Orange Walk did not become a hotspot because I left the NOC.
No.
We had that spread mostly
It-
from San Pedro, and then
And linked to border
a
jumpers
few
as well.
hundred people. It's not so much the border jumpers, Marlene. I think that's an unfair classification or comment. It's not so much the border jumpers. What has happened is that we had a number of people who were ill with COVID-19 or had the virus, and when it was announced that there was going to be a lockdown in San Pedro, a few hundred people ran away from the island, and then many of them were working and here in San Pedro, came back to Orange, and they went home. They went to their communities, they went to their villages, and even to the town. And that's how the spread started. Mm-hmm. Now, I think we could have been a bit more aggressive to be able to go after, to go to these people and to isolate them. It did not happen. Here we are presently, we have over 800 cases. We have a few people, unfortunately, have lost their life. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to give special attention to the Red Rock district. We need to mobilize resources. We need, when I speak to the people, the public health officials that are doing the testing, they're telling you that they need more help. They're being overwhelmed, they're getting tired, they're working some very, very long hours. We need to pay or give the resources to our frontline workers. That is still not happening. But in Orange Walk, we need to move very quickly and do things differently to be able to contain and control the spread of COVID-19.
And have you also heard feedback on the community level in relation to the response to the pandemic? And of course, you don't have to limit your answer to Orange Rock because you will have been, to the extent that's possible, going around the entire country listening to perhaps the people, and even by your own observation, how the response to the COVID-19 has played out on the ground. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, certainly, Gavin. What has happened is that I think that our frontline workers are doing an awesome job with the little resources that they have. They don't have enough hands. They have to work very long hours. The PPEs can be very uncomfortable in the heat. I want to say that, and I'm very proud of them. And also I'm appealing to the government that we need to pay these people what was promised to them. We need to pay them their overtime. Some of these people are working extremely long hours, 60, 70 hours a week, and they sometimes don't stop. So we either need to get more hands on them and also to pay them what they deserve. That aside, I think it is at the ministry level, and Dr. Manzener again has been doing his utmost best, but he needs help. He alone can't do it all by himself. And I've been saying this from when I was at the NOC. He needs help. We need more people that can assist him in getting the job done. We need to ensure that we have the proper PPEs for people. We need to ensure that we can do the testing faster. There should be no reason why we cannot get testing within 24 hours. We can start to use the rapid testing. The rapid testing is 85% as opposed to the other one, which is PCRs, which are 95%. And as I explained to the Prime Minister, if you do a test with someone and they are negative, then do a second test to ensure that that person really is negative and is not a false negative. There are certain steps that we can take. We can speak to the private clinics and see how they can get involved, how they can do the testing for those of us that can afford to go to a private clinic. I think it's unfair for people like myself that can afford to go to a private clinic to go to the public clinic and take a space from someone that has no other access but go to the public clinic. It's not that I don't want to go to the public clinic. I would happily go to the public clinic but I would rather somebody take my space that can't afford to go to a private clinic. Many of us have health insurance, and we should be able to use our health insurance to be able to do that. So that's one thing. We need to get everybody on board, the private clinics, the private doctors, the private labs. It is a concerted effort. It is a Belize effort. We're all in this boat together. And we will probably continue to lose the war against COVID-19.
Well, I'm glad you're moving in that direction, because that's what I wanted to get a bit from you in terms of substance this morning. You know, we can say that the COVID crisis is one that no country was prepared to handle, and many have chosen different paths. We are where we are right now, and we can always look and decide what was good, what was bad. But the point is that if you are elected come November and you take over the helm, there is no time to hem and haw or to say what they did wrong. There is time to move into the action phase. Your first 100 days will be immediate COVID response. We'll probably still be in the thick of this. What is your plan, and how much have you planned in anticipation of taking over the COVID response and hopefully having what everybody wants, which is better results?
Marlene, I think I just laid it out to you.
Yeah. So it's more, I heard more testing and private testing at the private clinics.
Then also to provide isolation areas for those that cannot be self-isolated at home.
Yes.
There's no other way.
Yes.
The issue of the mask, we need to continue to educate people more and more that you have to wear your mask as much as possible. Probably it's time to start to wear your mask even in the office, because you don't know who can have the virus or not. A more aggressive campaign, educational campaign, so people can understand. On the issue of the mask, I think the charges that we do against people that do not have the mask, I think is way too high. I think they charge like $5,000. I think we need to look at that. But these are the steps that needs to be taken. The two priorities on day one when we get into government has to be fighting COVID successfully as best as we can from all fronts, and also jobs. It's about looking at the economy and creating jobs for people. And so that's what we have to do starting day one.
Now, I hear what you're saying with testing, but what I'm not hearing in terms of the plan is where you plan to get the resources from. These tests cost money. And as the new ones come out, as we clearly see, there'll be countries that are richer, that are able to secure them faster than we will be able to. And also looking long-term to vaccines, that's also something we'll have to be able to secure funds for as well. So in addition to knowing that you want to enforce more testing, even if it's with rapid tests, how do you plan to get the resources needed to be able to purchase what is necessary? And I heard you talk about help for Ministry of Health and frontline personnel. Where do you get the human resources for this as well?
Marlene, we need to reallocate resources within government. We need to understand that there is an emergency in this country. As it is right now, I'm told that the government wants to sign the contract, a $48 million contract to Iber Hernandez to build the Haluva Bridge. We need to scrap that. We need to scrap the Caracol Road on the second portion that they're quickly trying to sign right now. We need to be able to take those resources and reallocate it. We are in a crisis. We need to look at the government and all these bloated contracts that's going on and take that money and reallocate it to fight COVID in this country effectively, efficiently, and to ensure that we can keep our people safe.
Now, some of this money comes from international funders. Do you feel that it would be easy to negotiate with them for these funds to be reallocated towards COVID response? Because I have heard things like the Caracol Road before, and even the other projects that are ongoing at this time. People have said the same. Laypersons have said the same. If you're spending this money on a road, put it towards COVID. Is there a challenge in being able to reallocate the funds?
And I say bullcrap. because it is nonsense. These funding agents, it's not free money that they're giving us. It is a loan. We have to pay for it. So we can sit down with the funding agents and telling them there are different priorities in this country right now. We have a pandemic raging across this country, and now we cannot afford to build a road to nowhere. We cannot afford to continue to spend money on building this road to Caracol. So we will tell them, let's allocate the money, reallocate the money. Probably they will not give us all of the money, but we can get a portion of that money and then use it to address COVID-19. And then the rest we can renegotiate on another more pressing projects. These are not gifts to us. We are borrowing money. When you go and borrow you go to the bank and you make a loan, Marlene, to build your house, and then something happens to, God forbid, to a family member or anything else, you can go to the bank and say, you know what, I don't need that loan anymore because I have a different priority. I have an emergency. I want to borrow to do X, Y, Z. And if you are a good lender, if you are a good borrower, quite likely the bank is going to lend you the money. Yeah. It applies the same to countries. The World Bank, CDB, IDB, they are not giving us free money. They have given in the past some money, but these are loans, and they need to understand that we have an emergency, we have a different priority, and some of these funds need to be reallocated.
Yeah, and using that same point as a jump start for the next portion, I think there are a lot of competing priorities. If you take office come November, you were looking at dealing with the health crisis, actually trying to save lives. But then at the same time, you're trying to save the livelihoods of people as well. You mentioned earlier things like jobs. Now, the fallout of COVID has affected all sectors. You're looking at jump-starting tourism, you're looking at unemployment, you're looking at people who are already in the depths of poverty, looking at 6 months of unemployment or less income coming in. And then on the larger scale, all these loans that we have acquired in such a rapid time, in addition to our previous debt, will eventually have to be repaid as well. So let's talk about the plans for dealing with the COVID fallout if you are elected to office.
We all recognize within the party that we are in a crisis. Belize was going down the wrong path even before COVID-19. COVID-19, all that COVID-19 did was to show that the emperor had no clothes, that the economy was in bad shape, that agriculture has been on a decline, and government spending has been totally out of control. The level of corruption that we are seeing in government has been unprecedented, and that's so that there are a number of things that has to be done. What we believe that we will have the confidence of the Belizean people in the next election because we have a plan. We have the people that have the capacity, that have the experience, that have the wherewithal to be able to put in the long hours to try to fix things in this country. Is that going to be easy, Marlene? Is that, and Gavin, is that going to happen overnight? We're saying that we need to look at tourism. Yes, we believe that tourism will come back. And that is why we believe that in less than 5 years, we can go up to at least 20,000 jobs in tourism industry. We look at the agriculture, whereby we have to work with the different sectors. Our local markets, we have to protect it for our local producers. Meaning that when we have local tomatoes, we're going to eat local tomatoes. And we need to try to convince or encourage people to eat more of what we produce. But also it's about exports. I think it was a stupid decision when the government decided to stop the exportation of cattle. That is something that has been done for the past 20 years. As it is right now, we're producing more than 30 times more cattle than what we can possibly consume. So we have to continue doing that. The foreign ministry have to refocus It's going to be trade-driven, corporation-driven, and yes, still looking after Belize, Guatemala through the ICJ. That means that we have to sit down with Mexico, from where we are importing over $250 million worth of products, and they are only buying $1 million from us, to sit down with them and work a partial scope agreement where they can buy our cattle, they can buy our pork, they can buy our chicken, or eggs, or grains, or shrimp, or fish. There are a number of things that they can buy from us. The same thing applies to Guatemala and El Salvador, who Salvador wants to buy all the black beans that we can produce. And then, of course, we have the Caribbean islands that we have to be better organized. That is why we're talking with the agro-productive sector to work with them to see if they can lease a 3,000-ton ship where we can put all our products on in one ship and then go from island to island delivering our products without having to go through the United States. Because going through the United States, it becomes very difficult because of the standards that they demand. On the USDA that they demand from us, and then the shipping time and the cost. So these are some of the plans that we have to take. We have to bring back confidence in this country that there's a government that understands business, that we are not going to allow investors to be pulled around all over the place. That is why I am setting up a special task force from the office of the Prime Minister that will be able to look at all these investments, and that any company, a legitimate company that is being turned around by the bureaucracy or by the bureaucrats, that we are going to step in to ensure that we can get it going immediately. Within the first 100 days, all those land, titles that are being held back in the ministry because of lands, because of the taxes that needs to be collected, we are going to approve them immediately so that people can use that and go to the bank and borrow and to be able to invest, and also to assist the real estate people who get a lot of people from the US to buy land. We're going to sit down with Beltrade and look at all the investments that are in the pipeline, and we're going to give them a specific time from which we need to get these things approved, because we have to get this thing going. People cannot wait. People are hungry. People want to work, and investors want to see that there is a government that knows what they're doing, that they are confident. And by taking these specific actions, we believe that we can bring back confidence in Belize.
And a lot of those plans, they do sound good, of course, and a lot of them do sound like they would have to be implemented over a long period of time. You also just now spoke about your first 100 days. So I'm also wondering, and I'm sure that a lot of viewers are as well, if you or the People's United Party, if you are elected, to have any plans in place for the short term. We know that, for example, there are programs like the unemployment relief, which is currently going on. So if there's plans to continue that, to change it in some way, or to add some immediate relief to the persons who have been unemployed, who have really faced the brunt of the economic fallout.
Well, I think I touched a few of them immediately when I said that we're immediately going to deal with the land situation, the titles that are held up from private people that needed to invest. I spoke about meeting with the people at Beltrade and get these investments are in the pipeline. Of course, the unemployment assistance program will continue. We want to do it more transparently, so that people can see so that people that really need are going to get the help. The food pantry or the food assistance program, I have some serious reservation about what's taking place there, because they know for a fact a lot of politicians, UDP politicians, go to you and ask if you want to be on the food pantry program. You tell them yes. Within days they're in that. So we have to make sure that we take out the politics from it, and that the people that need are going to get it. The next part of it, Gavin, as I mentioned earlier, those projects, those loans that we're making, like for the Halover Bridge and the Caracol Road. I know that there's one about the charging stations, on which one of the Prime Minister's favorite people is already putting their eyes on that they want to sign a contract quickly. We would stop all of that and ensure that those monies can be reallocated to address the present and pressing needs when it comes in Belize, health of our people, both physically, mentally, and also nutritionally. We have to make sure that people can get the assistance that they need.
Yeah. So that's looking at the financial side. You mentioned earlier that jobs are also a priority, because as much as you want to be able to get funds to cover healthcare costs or support programs, really people want to be independent and earn on their own. What are your thoughts? What are your immediate plans if you're elected into office as to what can be done or what missed opportunities may have existed as to how people can get back to work?
I think I've listed a few when I'm talking about the land situation and our titles situation and getting these things, these projects on the pipeline approved. But there are certain steps that we can take. For instance, we can open the free zone safely. We can ensure that it can be done in a way that people that go in are prepared, they wear their masks and they have the proper distancing, that they are constantly cleaning their hands, constantly cleaning the area. So by opening up the free zone immediately, right as soon as we get in, that would immediately create a few hundred jobs. These are the steps that we have to take. Working with the tourism sector, ensuring that it will be easier to come to Belize. I think some of the requirements to come to visit Belize are onerous. And so we need to review how is it that we can allow our visitors to come to Belize safely and also to keep Belizeans safe away from COVID-19. We have to be more innovative. Yeah. When I was in the NOC, we had a Belizean American, one of the first persons that created an app for a phone. And he had many patents. He got in touch with me, and he said he was prepared to do an app for free for Belize, so that people can use it as a tracing app. You can put it on your phone, and if you have COVID-19, then we can put it on your phone, and so we can trace everywhere you go. But for one reason or another, that offer was not taken, and here we are many months later without a proper tracing app. We have to be able to take decisive decisions and ensure that those decisions are carried through.
Another aspect, I think, what this COVID crisis has done is highlighted where, in general, we have been deficient. And this is not for one administration, this has always been. Our healthcare system had to play catch up and still isn't where it needs to be at this time. And or social protection systems. These are the two things that we are most reliant on for getting through this crisis, whether it's job loss and getting some support or whether it's having to deal with the healthcare system. Now, this has always been lower on the priority for administrations when they come into office. What are you going to do differently if you're elected into office to be able to support, because they suck a lot of resources and you don't necessarily see it immediately, but what are your plans as to what you're going to do with these systems?
Well, remember, as it is right now, we have between 250 million and 300 million of excess liquidity in the banking system. We have to find ways where these monies can be made available through the banking system to assist these small businesses that are on the brink of going bankrupt, and so that we can make funding available to them at very low interest rates that can keep them going. We have to be able to ensure that we can keep up with the unemployment relief, the food program that is already in place. These are things that can help people to hold on until we can get the economy going. As I said, the economy is going to be, along with fighting COVID, is going to be priority one, in the sense that we have to create jobs for people as soon as possible. Opening up the Corozal, the Northern Free Zone is one way. Working with the tourism industry to ensure that the tourists can come easier to Belize is another one. Working with agriculture, protecting our local markets so that our local producers can sell their products, hire more people, and make more money is another one. And then also in the long term is going to be obviously opening up more markets. But for instance, in the north, we can work with our cane farmers to help refinance them so that they can continue to plant even more sugar cane to be able to deliver to the sugar mill. These are some steps that are going to create jobs immediately. And also, as a new government, we are going to create the confidence that Belize is ready to do business with people, legitimate business, that they can come and invest in Belize, and that we're going to do everything possible. We're going to reduce the bureaucracy and ensure that we can fast track these investments, because people cannot wait. People need jobs desperately. People are hungry, and they expect that their new government, and I have every, and I have all the confidence that the Belizean people are going to give us that task to be able to come in and to get things done and get it done from day one.
Well, we're going to take a pause here. There's much more to discuss. We got to look at how you're going to be carrying out some of the traditional pre-election activities in a pandemic, and also just moving ahead what we can expect in the next 30 days or so. So we'll take that break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Leader of the People's United Party, Honorable John Briceno. Please stay tuned.
For over 20 years, Great Belize Television, Channel 5, has been the leader in award-winning local programming. We have also produced some of the best video commercials, documentaries, and live events for clients countrywide. And we continue to offer high-quality production services to maximize your advertising needs for your business or organization. From concept to completion, let us help you achieve your marketing goal by producing your commercial, documentary, graphic animation, live event, or even designing your website. Using state-of-the-art equipment and experienced personnel, we can make your ideas come alive. For more information, come see us on Coney Drive or give us a call at 223-0146 or 223-7781 or email us at gbtv@btl.net. Great Belize Productions, making great television in Belize.
And we are back. If you're joining us now, we are continuing our first conversation. We have with us via Zoom the leader of the People's United Party, the Honorable John Briceno, and we have been talking a lot of politics and a lot about what the plans that the People's United Party have or would have if they are elected on the big day in November 11th. Now, Honorable Honorable Mr. Briceno, why don't we shift gears and talk a little bit about what the campaign trail is going to be looking like for the next few weeks, especially knowing that we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and we're not going to be able to see a lot of the traditional campaigning, whether it be from the big rallies to even the house-to-house as we normally would. So what are the next few weeks of campaigning going to look like?
I think at the end of the day, I will not be an honorable member of the House, right, Gavin? Because it comes to an end. So I see you
today, right?
There. Honorable, and then you went to Mr. But
that's a transition that will happen today.
Transitioning, right? Transitioning. But certainly it's going to be a different campaign. It has been a different campaign. We have been doing a lot of virtual work. I mean, for a person like myself, that I like to be with people. I enjoy being with people. I enjoy the campaign trail. To me, it energizes me spending 10, 12, 14 hours on the campaign trail. It has taken some work for me to be able to change that mindset, to be whatever we. So we have been doing a lot of virtual stuff. If you notice, we've been presenting some of our policies virtually. This week, we're going to present the justice, crime and justice policies. I think was supposed to be out on Friday. Next week, you want to do the one on the economy, then lands and so forth, right until election. You have to get used to be talking in a green room by yourself, you know.
Yeah.
You guys do that all the time, so, you know, but for us, certainly myself, it took some time to do. But we are going, now that the election day has been set, we will be walking on the streets. Saturday I was out until about 9 o'clock, but in the night in Orange Walk Central, but we have to be doing safely.
Yeah.
We are insisting we would not be walking with huge crowds. Just a few, 2 or 3 campaigners along with you, and your mask, and constantly cleaning your hands, trying not to touch foreign objects and people and so forth. So it's going to be energetic, something different. You're not going to see mass parades and so forth.
Yeah.
That has to be done virtually. We will also be using the phone, WhatsApp, calling voters, sending messages to them. Do a lot more digital, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp. These are some of the things that we're going to do. And we're going to energize the campaign with good music. Yeah. You know, for instance, today we're going to premiere our new song, We Shall Rise. You know, it's a very optimistic song, giving people hope and confidence. The PUP is about hope. The PUP is about creating opportunities. And also the PUP is about confidence, that we have a team, 31, or probably I think only 5 of us have already served in a cabinet. Many of our candidates are new candidates, unlike the opposition, where many of them are the same old, tired candidates, people that you've seen for all this time, many of them that have been discredited that are running again. So it's almost like a new beginning. We're turning the page. For the first time, we're going to have a cabinet that would not include George Price, the father of the nation, and also most of the people that were actually physically involved in the quest to gain independence. It's almost like a post-independence group of leaders that are taking over the People's United Party. So I am very happy. I'm energized. I believe that people are excited to meet with us and to talk with us, of course, from a distance, constantly social distancing. So we believe that we will be able to get it.
There's a lot you can learn from the United States right now in terms of the implications of contracting COVID close to an election, and how people look at leaders to exemplify what is being asked of us. But you have been a part of politics for so long, and you know, I'm sure all your campaign team, they're accustomed to traditional campaigning, and there is a energy that you use as your pulse, to read your pulse as to how you were doing and how you were reaching people and how, whether you're connecting. That's out the door right now. You don't have mass gatherings. You can't see as many people as you'd like. If you're wearing a mask, you can't gauge their reactions. How are you monitoring the effectiveness of your campaign given all the restrictions that you have with COVID?
Well, it has to be a constant work, constant reaching out to people, constantly calling them, trying to be in contact with them as best as you can, sending them WhatsApp messages, sending them videos, sending messages via Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and also your campaign team, your campaigners. We can't be sending them in huge numbers, but they will also have to help you. That they have to be constantly on the ground and reporting to you what is it that they're seeing. We plan to have more virtual town hall meetings, and I agree with you when you look at the United States, that as leaders we need to lead by example. We need to show that we have our masks on at all times, that we try to limit the amount of people that are around us, and to try as best as possible to keep the distance socially between one another. We need to lead by example. It's going to be a different campaign, Marlene. I think it's going to be the first digital campaign. Fortunately, in the PUP, we have people that have the talent and the expertise to be able to do that, and we just have to adapt to it. So, as they say, they give you lemon, you make lemonade. So we can't go out with that. So then we have to use what is available to us. So it's going to be a digital campaign.
Let's talk about voter turnout. If we use the example of some of the Caribbean countries, we know that voter turnout was low. What is your plan there? And are you concerned that voters won't go to the polls because they're fearful of COVID?
Of course, we have to have some level of concern. But when you look at the Caribbean, their turnout in elections have been traditionally lower than in Belize. That is one. Secondly, we have cleaned the list. It is a new list. So most of the people that are on the list are people that are here in Belize and that are within their constituencies. So that in itself is going to help. Thirdly, I think that the PUP is motivated. The PUP is excited. The PUP followers want to ensure that we have a PUP government. And so I think that they are going to go out. The problem is the opposition party that they have a lot of they continue to have a lot of internal problems. And so they might have a problem in motivating their people. Now, it is now the independent voters. How is it that we're going to deal with them? Well, one, we have to show them that we have a good plan, that we know what is it that we're going to do it, how we're going to address the issue with COVID-19, the issue of the economy, jobs, crime, and corruption. Those are the main issues that are foremost of the people, the independent voters. Thirdly, we have to point out to them that we are going to put a safe system in place for them to go to vote. That the vehicles that we'll be using, that whenever a voter comes out, we're going to clean it out, that we're going to have masks available if somebody does not have a mask, that at the polling area, that we're not going to be rushing them, that we're going to keep our distance, that and I think that the Elections and Borders Commission have already mentioned that they will not allow huge crowds standing within the 100-yard line, so that people can feel safe. We have to convince people that it's going to be safe to go to vote.
Safety is definitely, I think, an issue that will play on the minds of voters when they go out, or if they go out come November 11th. But there's also another factor. It's the disillusionment that we hear and see from voters about the two mass parties who are seen as the options for the next administration. I'm sure you've seen and heard the PUDP term that has been thrown around quite often, where people feel that the political system is merely the same thing dressed as red or blue. How do you respond to that as you start to see these types of discussions playing out in Belize?
Let's take on the PUDP first. That there is a massive difference between the People's United Party and the UDP. our party is centered on one principle, that we're here to serve the people. We are about social justice. We are about land reform so that Belizeans can get a land, that Belizeans can get a job, that Belizeans can have access to a home, they can have access to education and to health. That is what drives the People's United Party. We are not about infrastructure development, and what has taken place. Yes, we have not been perfect. We have done some stuff that we're not too proud of, but coming into government, we are going to take steps to correct that. Mm-hmm. That is why we're saying that the UNCAC, the process that will be happening under UNCAC, we are going to finish it up by setting up what we call the Anti-Corruption Commission, that is going to be enshrined in the Constitution of Belize, where you're not going to have politicians or political parties represented there. They're going to have their independent budget, that we're going to strengthen the Integrity Commission with subpoena powers, with their own, that the political party in government is not going to have the majority as what is happening right now. And they're going to have their own independent budget that will not be controlled by the executive. That we are also going to work with the Auditor General, whereby again the Auditor General needs to be strengthened the laws, including subpoena powers and independent budget. By taking these steps, we're going to be addressing the issue of corruption that is endemic under the UDP from the very top to very lowest. Mm-hmm. Taking these steps, taking it away from the political parties or from the executive, then we can then ensure that we can have more transparency and more openness in government. We've already said that within the first 6 months, the Attorney General, I'm going to task the Attorney General to find a way how we can limit the powers of the ministers, not to shackle them, but to be able to limit that unbridled powers that they have. Taking these steps and pointing it out to the independent electorate, we can show, or the people that are a bit disillusioned and jaded by the political process, we believe that we can start to convince them. And at the end of the day, what is it that they're going to do? They're going to stay home. You need to come out and vote. That's the only way that you can change things in this country, unless if you want a dictatorship, which I'm sure that Belizeans do not want that, that kind of government. You need to come out and vote, and to ensure that people hear you, and that you can see that there's a clear distinction between the People's United Party and the UDP.
Earlier you said that looking forward, if you were able to win the votes from the Belizean voters come November 11th, that you would have what you call a post-independence cabinet. Let's look at representation here for a second. Mr. Briceno, in 2020, the People's United Party is putting forward 2 female candidates for the general election, in a time where women's representation has been discussed time and time and time again. How is this the situation, and how do you feel about that being the makeup of your slate?
I am not happy about that situation. I have done everything that I've done a lot to try to change that. If you look at the appointments that I did as the leader of the opposition, most of them, the majority, are women. And I'm also looking that many of the appointments that we're going to make in government are going to be including women. Now, when it comes to the issue of politics, I supported quietly many of the women that were running, but unfortunately, the people in that division decided that they want a different candidate. That is a part of the democratic process. If the people in the Albert division decided that they want Paul Thompson, we have to respect that. If the people in, for instance, in Dangriga decided that they want Louis Zavani, we have to respect it. Now, we have to do some changes within the party. And one of the things that I'm bringing across to our women leaders, that if they have interest in politics, they have to get involved from early. You cannot wait 1 month before the convention to say, I want to run in such and such a division. They have to go in there from at least a year or even before so that people can get to know them. That is one of the ways that we can do that. Now, in big countries, you can say, we're going to set aside certain divisions for a woman because you have 50,000 voters. And if you remove a man from that division, he can take away 500 voters, maybe 1,000 voters, and it will have minimal impact. But in Belize, if we are in a constituency and we tell a person, a male that has been in that division, working for years to run, and say, we're not going to allow you to run because we need a woman in that division, that person can easily take with him 100, 2, 3, 4, 500 votes. And if that happens, then there's no way we can win that division. So we have to rethink. It's not just about saying we want more women, but we have to rethink the strategy on how we can get more women elected as standard bearers and then elected to the National Assembly.
And, we can't talk about the future without talking about the youth. And I'm imagining that, even in light of the pandemic and all of the difficulties that have come, there also has to be, or let me ask then, what is the message of the PUP when it comes to both education and also empowering the youth? Because I think that if we go back to Marlene's question, young people are among probably the most disillusioned with the political process. Yeah. And how is it that you plan to empower them and convince them to go out to the polls and vote in the first place and to vote for the People's United Party?
Gavin, I think there's a combination. One, disillusion, but also young people growing up, they have other things in their mind. They don't see politics as something that is important. I grew up in a political family, so obviously I see it as important. But most young people, they are caught up in education, and meeting with their friends and so forth. So we need to find a way how, probably through the schools, that we can educate them for them to understand how important it is to get involved in politics. Yes, there is some sort of disillusion, and I accept that. In all aspects of the society, that there is some level of disillusion. But look at what we are doing in the People's United Party. For instance, we have Alan Pollard, who is, I think, 25 years old, running in Queen Square. We have somebody like Anthony Marla, who is a fairly young man who is running in Pickstock. Mayor, again, a young person. So we have a number of young candidates in the PUP because we are trying to embrace young people. They bring the energy. They bring a totally different outlook than people like myself. And that's why we are doing a number of things. I mean, for instance, when you look to education, we're saying that no person, no Belizean should be denied an education from primary school or preschool all the way to sixth form. That's why we are coming up with this plan to make education free to everybody. We're looking at how we can create a digital world for young people that they can be a part of. That is why we want to work with companies to come and set up here in Belize where they can provide better paying jobs, not only call centers, not only about answering phone, but do some kind of programming, some kind of design. I was campaigning in San Esteban a few weeks ago, and I met a young man, and we were talking, and so I said, he said he was working, and I said, so you have your day off? He said, no, I'm working from home. I said, oh, so what do you do? He said, well, I design websites. When I asked him, so which company, what websites have you done? He said, I'm working for a company in the United States. These are the opportunities that we have to create for young people. We have to be able also to turn them into entrepreneurs, that we can make funding available for them to start to use their creativity to set up their own business, that they don't need to depend on trying to get a job or trying to beg a minister for a job. Set up that entrepreneurial spirit, setting up laws to make it easier for them, making funding available for them to be able to open up to get a job. These are the policies that the new PP government is putting into place, ensure that we can put more emphasis on sports. Again, it's not about building expensive sporting facilities like the Civic Center in Belize City. It's a beautiful white elephant, but how many people can go in and use that facility? You know, we need to put facilities that people can use in their neighborhoods. They can go and play basketball or football, or their families can go and run around a truck. It does not take a lot of money to do that. Create more competition, more sporting competition, the semi-pro, football and basketball. You know, there are so many things that we can do. We can tax the Bolido to ensure that those funding can be made available to help with education, to help with health, to help with sports, to help young people. Make it exciting for them. It is an exciting time in their lives. And we need to continue to make it exciting for them.
If you're able to, if you take over the leadership in November as a new prime minister of this country, I mean, it's under the least ideal circumstances.
It's going to be the worst conditions ever.
Exactly. There's so many. It's really just trying to mitigate losses and trying to rebound at the same time. But you're still up for the job because you still have your name on that slate. What is it that propels you to want to be a part of this phase in our country's history, perhaps the most trying time we have experienced?
It may sound like a cliche to you guys, but I genuinely want to help people. I want to be able to see how we can make people's lives better, how people can get access to a piece of land, to a job, to education, to a good healthcare system, you know, the basic things. And so I believe that God has blessed me, that I have been successful in business, that I could write a check every month to the Red Cross or to Help Age and say, I'm doing my part. But it is more than that. I'm giving my time, my dedication, my ideas, my work, my wherewithal to ensure that we can have a better Belize, that people can live freely in this country, that people can feel that they truly have an opportunity in this country, not only those that know the minister, but that through an educational system, that they can be well equipped to meet the future, to change the laws and to allow easier funding for young people to start their business. It happened to me when my brother and I started our business way back in 1986. The banks did not want to lend us money. Thank God my mother had her house that she spent her entire life to build, and she gave it to us so we can mortgage it to the credit union. And so when we did that, I remember telling Jaime, we can't mess up. We can't allow our mother to lose her house. And so we worked hard with the first business, and we were successful. And then we got another business, and that's how we grew. And then after that, that's when the banks then want to lend us money. We want to change that whenever a young person comes up with a great idea, that they can have the funding necessary. It's these little steps or things that we want to do to make sure that people can have an opportunity. I don't want a Belize where people feel that they have to get a job from government. I want a Belize where people can get a job, that they can take care of their family. We are proud people, and we are optimistic people. We always believe that tomorrow is going to be better, and we have to make it better. And that is why I have dedicated my life, the best years of my life, to be able to see how we can make Belize a better time. I mean, I never thought that I was going to be the oldest guy in the National Assembly, that has spent the most years in the National Assembly. I thought I was going to, I told when Jaime we talked about it, I said, okay, I'll do 10 years, right? And then I'll come back into the business, or 15 years. And here am I going to my seventh term. But I do it because I genuinely love people. I genuinely love this country. And I believe that we have put a great team together that can go to Bamapan and start from day one, roll up their sleeves, and work hard every single day to be able to make this country.
All right. Well, we thank you for sharing a bit of what you hope you can be able to do if elected come November 11th. This is, I guess, the kickoff of the election season. We definitely will be having more conversations, so we appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you, and stay safe.
Well, thanks, Marlene. Thanks, Gavin, for giving me this opportunity. I can assure you that the People's United Party is ready. We have the plans, we have the people, we have the leaders with the energy and the vision to turn this country around. And I'm asking people, please stay safe. If you have the COVID-19, stay isolated, not only at home, but stay isolated, because when you go out, you get other people sick, you get your family sick, and you get other people sick. So I'm asking them to stay. And lastly, I want to ask everyone, come out to vote. Stop complaining. Do something about it. Come out and vote. And we, as a political party, the People's United Party, is going to do everything possible for you to feel safe on election day. Thank you very much to both of you. And guys, take care of yourself. Be safe.
All right, and thank you too. With that, we're going to shift gears. We're talking from politics to Belizean animated movies. So this one's been out for a while, but now it's officially going to premiere for everyone to be able to see. We're going to talk to the filmmaker Lee McLaughlin after the break about Pequani and the Duende. That's coming up in a few.